Instagram.
Live on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay, here we go. Episode 8. We're into it.
Yeah.
This is Real Life Lounge with real topics and real talk.
You got it right that time.
Yeah.
I was flipping around. Way to go.
Yeah. So last week we started talking about homeschooling and some of the, just generalities. And then we said we were going to get into talking about some of the myths of homeschooling. I think a lot of people want to understand homeschooling a little bit more if they don't already do it, because there's a lot of mystery around it. And there was for us for a long time before we ever started that journey too.
I think there's a lot of mystery around it, but I also think there's this increasing interest in it, just with the pandemic. And I just think that people are like, is there something different out there that could work?
Yeah. When I meet people and they ask like, what school do your kids go to? And I say, we homeschool. I always get a pretty positive, like, ooh, that's cool. Like, I don't get kind of like the judgmental face.
Your Natural Learner is one of our favorite accounts to follow. And she just had something on the other day that said, homeschool is not the experiment. School is the experiment. I thought that was an interesting concept. So anyway, but today we are talking about socialization. So we feel like this stems from, last week we talked about when we were kids and when our parents were kids, there was this generalization, this feeling that most people who homeschool were very secluded and they were like kind of the weird ones and didn't talk to anyone. So we kind of have this, I think we all have this preconceived notion, this judgment towards people that homeschool, that they're unsocialized. And honestly, I think your parents may still bring this up, but our parents definitely voiced that concern when we started our homeschool journey. Like, oh, are you sure? What about socializing them? Are they going to be socialized?
Yeah, I've had that conversation with family members who are trying to understand, and they say, well, eventually you'll put them back in school so that they can get their socialization, right? So let's just talk about it without like judgment against school systems or against any other way. But if your kids are not going to be socialized because they homeschool is the myth, let's dispel that a little. Yeah. Not having to be defensive about it, but let's talk about it.
So there are lots of opportunities for homeschool kids to get socialized. And especially with the pandemic and the boom in homeschool families, there are so many great co-ops and organizations. Our girls are in Our Village School, which is cohorts of 16, and they go twice a week most of the school year. And we found a gymnastics gym this year that has daytime gymnastics classes. So they're in activities. It's so great being able to go during those off-peak times in the middle of the day and let them run around and do gymnastics and get their energy out. So they're in lots of, activities and sports, but those co-ops are really a really great way for them to get socialized.
Yeah. And when they're in these activities, they're around other kids. So there's that, being around the peer group. One of the advantages of that is that they're not in a same age peer group all the time. So they have younger kids and older kids. So they're socializing with multiple age ranges, which I think is very applicable to real life. And then the other thing is they have multiple instructors and all these different things that they're in, right? There's a music teacher that comes to our house to teach piano. There's a few different teachers at their co-op school they go to. There's a gymnastics teacher at that. There's a swim teacher over there. There's a dance teacher there. So they get to interact with authority figures in multiple different situations. And I just wanted to talk about, I really feel like socialization is a word to describe how do you interact with others? How do you relate with others? And I feel like that comes a lot from home anyway. Like, what example are you setting as a parent and how you interact with others and how you talk to people? Like, that's so much of how do our kids socialize? Like, when you go out to eat, are your kids ordering with the waiter? Like, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. I feel like one of the things that comes along with the socialization myth is people saying, well, if they're homeschooled, then they're not getting the real life experience at school with the bullies and the jerks and
the hard times, like
they don't. How are they going to know how to navigate those situations if they aren't getting it during school?
Yeah. My feeling on that is that life is hard. There's always those kinds of obstacles that get thrown in your way. And I would much rather armor my kid with a great foundation of self belief, self esteem, self confidence, so that when they um, come across those difficult situations in life, they are well equipped, rather than being exposed to some of that really tricky stuff at an early age and not knowing how to navigate it, and then getting their self-esteem, self-confidence chopped down, and then never being able to quite recover. So I feel like the upside far outweighs the potential downside.
Yeah, in our discussions with other families who have kids in the public school system, and they have kids the same age, they're already dealing, so our girls are almost 10, and the things they're dealing with already at that age in the public school system of like body image issues and being on social media and all these, which there are certain things that you can make those decisions within your household regardless of how you school your kids, but I just feel like it's so much more prevalent in the public school system, and I'm okay with my kids being a little sheltered from that stuff. They will deal with it at some point in their life, but they'll have that solid emotional core, that self-belief where they can handle those situations. Whereas you're not equipped to handle those situations at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're still emotionally developing. And when you deal with those really hard things, they become part of your identity. And then you have to spend all this time unlearning them. So it's an unfortunate part of the school system. And I know that there are, teachers and great parents that are working to limit those things, but it's a reality of the school system. And like in our village school, those situations, those issues just aren't prevalent. Like I don't, we don't need to get into the whys today, but
Yeah.
it's just an interesting observation. So
yeah, I think, bottom line is that the perception that homeschool kids are at home and not even like going outside the door is just not quite accurate. And again, it's up to the parent on how many things are you exposing your kids to and how many situations. And I think, one thing that we try to keep in mind is like, let's expose our girls to as many different environments as possible so that they can um, integrate the adaptability that's needed in today's world. And that is by interacting with a lot of different environments with different people in each environment. And you can certainly do that outside of the traditional school system. And so we're like conscious of it, and we definitely try to integrate that into how we raise our girls. It's more of one of those like, how do we raise them rather than how are we teaching them?
yeah. All right. That's it for today for Real Life Lounge. If you have other homeschool myths that you'd love us to debunk, or you have questions about homeschool, we're kind of focusing on that topic this month. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks always for watching and sharing and saving and commenting and liking and following and all the things. We're grateful that you're here. And that is all.
This is Real Life Lounge, real topics, real talk.